Hey, it's your boy Metalhead Warrior. How you doing? It's the Bulldog. Hey, do me a favor. Smash that like button. Subscribe. I'm trying to get my channel out there. I know I've been gone for a little bit. I haven't been on much. I've been going through some health issues and just trying to find myself again. You know, doing this. I'm trying to push it. Um, I decided, something. Just do it my way and get it out there. So sit back, relax. There. Now I can hear myself. Before I couldn't. See, my mind is a little bit, you know. Anyways, I want to do a double discog today on two bands that I think people tend to forget about, um, especially in the coming out of LA, and the whole thrash metal crossover thing. One band in particular has been one of my favorites forever, and I think they're overlooked, overshadowed, underrated. Cryptic Slaughter. These guys started out in '84. Oh, and I think Santa Clara. Um, Put out four albums. They were big. They were a big part of that whole crossover movement that was going on, in mid '80s, with likes of D.R.I, who I'm going to get to in this stream. Yeah, I'm gonna do a double stream. I'm gonna do a double breakdown of Cryptic Slaughter and D.R.I, Dirty Rotten Imbeciles. Um, I think these two bands had an intricate part of just about everything pertaining with the crossover, thrash metal, punk, speed, a little ska in there too. Um, Now this is not gonna be in any type of order for the Discogs, but one of my favorite albums by them is Stream of Consequences. Um, this is this came out I think 88. Yeah, 88. Um, One of my favorite records by them. Uh, it's it's heavy. It's hard for that, especially for that era. Yeah, a lot of punk influence on here. Uh, a lot of thrash, a lot of speed, punk again. Um, Circle of Fools first track is my favorite track off this record. Um, you had Drift, Overcome, See Through You, Just Went Black. You know, amazing, amazing vocals on these. With them, uh, guitars. You know, had that typical hardcore speed metal punk sounding guitars. Um, the vocals of this I absolutely love. You know, like I said, back in there, you know, you had so many bands. You know, it was almost divided. You had the hardcore scene, you had the metal scene, you had the punks. In mid '80s, you just had bands. Just bringing different genres, of metal together, and that's what crossover spawned. You had DRI, Cryptic Slaughter. And on the East Coast, you had SOD, MOD, um, Crumbsuckers, Ludachrist. Um, and then you had the hardcore scene. You know, coming across. You had the likes of Leeway, Agnostic Front. Slapshot even for that matter. Um, and they were putting out great albums. You know, um, Another one by them is Speak Your Piece. Another very very overlooked record. You know, People say bands bands tend to, peak or whatever. I don't think these guys ever peaked. I don't think they ever, you know, they stayed true. They stayed true to who they were. They were big in the underground, especially coming out of LA. They were real big in the underground. Um, this one came out in '90 um, on Metal Blade. Before that, they were on Death Records. This was the same thing. Speak Your Peace, Killing Time, Still Born Again, Coexist, Born Too Soon. You know, and they weren't afraid to hit on topics. Like a lot of hardcore bands were. A lot of the crossover bands. They didn't care. You know, things that were going on in the world. They brought to their forefront. You know, I think that's what's missing with a lot of bands today. Um, a lot of bands are trying to be too PC. And I think back then, the Freedom of Speech Act was out there for a lot of bands. They spoke their mind. They put it out. And they didn't care. Um, Another one of my favorite is Money Talks. This came out '87 on Metal Blade, and it was came out on Metal Blade, also Restless, but it was distributed through Death Records. Which at that time, Death Records was a subsidiary of Metal Blade. Uh, Could Be Worse, Wake Up, Freedom of Expression, Menace to Mankind, Tables Are Turned. Uh, just a great, great, great record by these guys. Like I said, these guys get so overlooked. You know, in a time where you had hardcore, you know, taking that next step. And you would have shows. You would have you had the hardcore kids, you had the metalheads, you had the skinheads, you had the punks. Um, yeah, there was always anybody that remembers back then. There was always fights breaking out. At shows, especially between with the hardcore crowd and the metalhead crowd and the skinheads and the punks. Um, I think it was like I think one of the first I think one of the first crossover bands I ever heard besides Cryptic Slaughter was probably D.R.I. The only man coming out of California, and just it had they brought everything to the forefront, and it combined music that a lot of people you know they always say you gotta listen to this, you gotta listen to this, and getting those two genres, four genres together at one time exploded. I didn't. You hear a lot of it in today's bands. Another one by them is what one of my top two by them. I'd say Convicted. Love this album. This is a reissue. This originally came out '86. This is the reissue of this. Um, this came with the Life in the Grave demo from '85, and it also came with a live set from Houston back in '88. This one had Literal World, Sudden Death, Low Life, Rage to Kill, Rest in Pain, State Control. So Hypocrite, which is amazing, amazing song. Black and White, about everything coming around that time. Convicted title track. I think they were one of the pioneers of it all. That got it really, really going. I said they had that thrash to them with some speed mixed in, and then you factor in the hardcore and the punk, and some legendary albums. I don't think they ever put out a bad album, period, at all. Um, This was issued originally by Hell's Headbangers. It came out on FOAD Records, also available at scarystore.com. This is called Lola Chronicles Cryptic Slaughter 84 to 88. This is a gem to have. Um, it's a double disc with a DVD. It has outtakes from '88 when live live shows they did in California, um, Michigan, Texas, Nevada, Washington, um, Washington State, not Washington D.C. Um, Come more from Cali. They have uh, rehearsal jams on here. Then they got the documentary. It's raw footage, unseen footage of them, um, rare performances that probably never made the light of day, interviews and the whole 9 yards. This came out a couple years ago, and I was floored when I seen this. If you're into Cryptic Slaughter, this is an absolute must. Here, I'm trying to hold it up without dropping it. Absolute must, in my opinion. Um, and it shows the band, um, live performances, outtakes, behind the scenes. You know who they were. You know, again, it's just one of those bands that I think a lot of people forget about. I think a lot of people, um, they're underrated to a lot of people, overlooked, um, big time. You know, you could put them, their albums in your top hardcore, your top thrash metal, in my opinion, speed metal categories, because they fit everything, in my opinion. They really really did, and do to this day. Um, like I said, they only put out 4 records. That that double disc came out a couple years ago, but I would love to have seen them, around now, you know, with the hardcore scene and the bands, because you, you hear you hear a lot of their influence in a lot of bands today, and I mean a lot. Even some of the hardcore, you'll hear it in them. Bands like Monkey Pup from back then, uh, Municipal Waste, Toxic Holocaust, um, Havoc for that matter. Even like early Helmet, like before Betty and whatever else that album was. Um, you hear it on the meantime from Helmet and their first two, Strap It On, and that they're like their very first record. Um, but yeah, if you guys definitely look for this, like I say, it's on FOAD Records. Also, Hell's Headbangers has this also, um, and also ScaryStore.com, which is part of FOAD Records. But yeah, like I said, you got, I say for the classic, records of all time. You got Convicted. Uh, One of my favorites by them, if not my favorite, Money Talks. Um, Speak Your Piece. And then one, this was probably the first one I heard by them. Stream of Consequences. You know, it's old school stuff. That I think it still stands the test of time today. You know, without a doubt. All right, next one I get to is the legendary D.R.I. Dirty Rotten Imbeciles. Yes, I remember when I first heard these guys. My brother was a big fan of them. My brother saw them how many times when they would come to area in Connecticut, Jersey, New York. Um, the first song I heard by them was probably Madman, and I love that song. That's one of my favorite songs by them. If you guys don't remember, D.R.I was famous for having like those 45-second songs. You know, literally, if you sneezed, the song was over. Um, they, I think they, along with government LA scene, like with Cryptic Slaughter, COC, from that area coming out in the area of the states, um, you had that. You, you had these two, three bands from that area putting out stuff that you know you weren't accustomed to. With the combination of the hardcore, the thrash, the punk, and everything. Um, One of the first ones was the Dirty Rotten LP, which is on here. Um, this is a reissue this, of these. This came out on Beer City Records. This is dealing with it. One of my absolute favorites by them. Um, Another one of those records that you know if you if you sneezed, the album was over. Still one of the most, I think, one of the most influential bands in records. This one had everything on it. You had Snap, I'd Rather Be Sleeping, Marriage, Yes Ma'am, Soup Kitchen, Madman, Stupid Stupid War, Counterattack, Couch Slouch, the infamous God is Broke, I Don't Need Society, um, Reaganomics, How to Act, Argument Then War, um, Sad to Be, just a whole barrage of, I think, from D.R.I. They had that. Is one I'm still looking for. It was incorporated in a couple of reissues. Is the Dirty Rotten LP. It had like 22 songs in under like 15 minutes, I think it was. My brother had that on vinyl. Like I said, I'm getting a lot of my stuff back. I know I have. You guys see my pictures. I'm getting a lot. I'm getting a lot of stuff that I had back because I know my collection was stolen. I got a good, you know, 90, probably about 99% of it back, but there's still some that I had originals of. Like I said, for D.R.I, I had all the originals of them. And there's ones I want to get back. Um, like I said, this is not going to be in any order by them like I did with Cryptic Slaughter. Dirty Rotten CD. This is the Dirty Rotten LP. Um, this includes enhanced tracks of I Don't Need Society, Reaganomics, Commuter Man, Plastique, Y, Balance of Terror. This has radio interviews on it, live performances, um, demos, outtakes. It has I Don't Need Society, Plastique, Human Waste, Money Stinks, Dennis's Problem, Closet Punk, Sad to Be, War Crimes, Busted, Draft Me, um, Capitalists Suck, No Sense, Blockhead. You know, it's classic D.R.I. You know, one of those bands that put themselves you know on top, I guess, of everybody. You know, they they and the thing is, they're still going today. I saw them a couple years ago play, and you know, they still have it. Yes, they've had their losses with I think it was Felix had cancer a few years back. Um, just I think they're one of the greats. Another band that I still say it gets overlooked. So you go back coming back from the '80s. When they started that whole crossover. Hell, you know, right there crossover. basically perfected it. Um, this album is one of my all time favorites by them. Um, 5 Year Plan, Tear It Down, A Coffin, Probation, Decisions, Hooked, Go Die, Redline, Oblivion. This also comes with when they played at the Ritz here in New York City. Um, as demo tracks, as interviews with Kirk, Spike, Felix, and Josh. Um, this one again, this reissue, this also came out on Beer City Records, and I think it came out 2013 or no 91. I'm sorry, 91. Yeah, but there's the classic lineup right there. Like I said, I've seen these guys a few times. I saw them. I saw them on the Thrash Hard tour, which was like '90, I think it was 89, 90. I saw them on when Definition came out, which is another monster album by them, which I'm gonna get to in a minute. I saw them in 2016, and like 16 or 17, and they didn't lose. They have lost a step. They have not lost a step. And there's talk about them coming out with a new record. You know, I can only hope. I would love that. One of their, I think, one of their albums that really, where they expand, where they expanded them more. Um, the the classic Thrash Zone record. Um, remember, this got some rotation on MTV along with Four of a Kind. Um, You Say I'm Scum had a little video that they put out that was on MTV back in late '80s, '90s. Um, Beneath the Wheel, Enemy Within, Strategy, Labeled Uncurable, Kill the Words, the ever famous popular Gun Control, which they've always pressed on that. Worker Bee, Abduction. Um, just another classic, by these guys. I remember when this came out, '89. God, um, just hearing them, you know, expand more on their music. I know a lot of people said that they sold out to the mainstream. I don't think they ever did. Um, I think they got more of a thrashy feel, almost like I would say like a Marauder, even like a Hatebreed for that matter. Um, you know, yeah, the songs were a bit longer, needless to say. Um, but there were some great albums. Another one, Four of a Kind, the one that came out before Thrash Zone. This came out '88. Um, I think I think this one, Thrash Zone, and Dealing with It, really cemented them as you know one of those true crossover bands. You know, as I said, they put it out there and it grabbed everybody from all all different genres of metal. At that time, because it was something that nobody really heard. You know, at that time in the '80s. Um, All for Nothing, Manifest Destiny, Gone Too Long, um, Slumlord, Suit and Tie Guy was the one that got a lot of spin on MTV back in the day, especially at Headbangers Ball. Um, you remember that song was basically about Wall Street guys. You know, I think they're better than everybody. Much like the song "You Say I'm Scum" off of Thrash Zone. You know, again, I think one of the most iconic records. Um, I always tell everybody if anybody wants to get anybody into DRI, if anybody has never heard of them, I would say definitely excuse me, Four of a Kind, Thrash Zone, and the album Crossover. Um, the other one that I really liked as an album was Definition. Again, they 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 got away from that very underground sounding that they were when they first came about. Um, I think this album is one of their best albums. Production, especially. Uh, the vocals were, I think, Kurt's vocals got even better as they went on. Uh, my favorite song off this record is Guilt Trip, Paying to Play, which a lot of bands know what I'm talking about. The Target, the the Hangover song Dry Heaps, Time Out, Tone Deaf, another great DRI song. Um, the other one was a Full Speed Ahead. I like this record. A lot of people didn't like this one too much. They said it got them too noticed, too fast, which I don't think. I don't DRI. I don't think DRI got noticed that much that fast. You know, I think DRI just stayed that level. That punk hardcore thrash band. You know, um, come on, they're still playing clubs. You know, that's one thing about DRI. They always played for their fans. Um, One of the classic drawings by Felix, right there. Right there. Um, this one wasn't a bad one at all. Problematic. I'm the Liar, Which is a Sin, the popular syringes in the sandbox about the drugs with the kids getting stabbed with needles and all that shit. They did do a remake on here of the classic Who Am I? Who am I? D.R.I. Who am I? D.R.I. Who am I? D.R.I. Yeah, I'm having a flashback right now. Yeah. Another one, Girl with a Gun. Great track. The song Sucker. Um, Underneath the Surface. This came out in 95 on Rotten Records, which is owned by them, basically. I know I breezed through that, but, those two bands, I think brought a lot of attention to, different types of music. Um, I think with them, DRI, Cryptic Slaughter, SOD, MOD, Marauder, COC, Slapshot, for instance, even them back then, Mucky Pup, without a doubt, that I think without those bands getting that whole crossover genre started, like the subgenre, the subgenre of it, I don't think you'll have a lot of the bands that are out today doing it that sound like them. Municipal Waste, God, Lamb of God for that matter. I would put them in that category with them, believe it or not. I really, really would. Um, Sick of It All, just DRI, Sick of It All. I've always had that same, almost that same sound in a way. Just one is from L.A. area, one is from New York, from Queens. Um, Warbringer for that matter. There's just so many different bands that, you hear a lot of that old crossover sound from bands back then. You hear it a lot now, and a lot of them are influenced by DRI, Cryptic Slaughter, SOD, MOD. Bands, that set that tone, that kicked that door down. You know, which I grew up in the '80s, so you know, being around that whole time for me was just perfect, without a doubt. Like I said, D.R.I is still going. I saw him a few years back. Um, they've done some live shows recently, and they still sound great. You know, you know, it's a shame that that they didn't catch on with other people. You know, to just get over that hump. In the '80s and '90s, because even in the '90s they were still kicking, and still one of the greatest. You know, in my honest opinion, without a doubt. Um, but yeah, that's gonna be it. It was just a short stream. Like I said, I'm going through some things, so I just wanted to get back to my normal self. I I'm still working on a couple things. Like I said, you guys remember I'm working on doing the King Diamond Merciful Fate Discog and a couple other things. I got some plans coming up in December to go live at a CD flea market. It's called the Punk Rock Flea Market in Jersey. Definitely doing that. But guys, if you enjoy this, smash that like button, subscribe, share my channel out. I will be back on again soon. Um, Stay hard, stay heavy, keep waving that metal flag. And as the Bulldog always says, if you're gonna do something, make it count. I'm out.